Now, I know I shouldn't be one to criticize the great mind of Bill O'Brien. Just every move he makes is so perfect. But this move, just on paper, is kind of surprising, right? Randall Cobb giving him $27 million over 3 years with almost $19 million completely guaranteed, meaning that you're giving him $9 million a year for a guy who kind of looks like he's over the hill a little bit. In his 9 seasons in the NFL, despite the fact that he's only 29, it's kind of surprising he's only 29 because, he has been in the league for 9 years, but, he entered young, so that's kind of why he feels a little older than he actually is. But anyways, this is a guy who has only passed 1,000 receiving yards once in his career. He got 954 another time, but, he's been pretty much more of a consistent 800 yards guy. In fact, in his last 3 years in Green Bay, he ended up with just, 610 yards, 653 yards, and then 383 yards. Wasn't healthy for all of that time, but at the same time, it seemed like he wasn't really doing too much. He did kind of have a bit of a resurgence with the Cowboys, had 828 yards, pretty solid amount, and part of that was playing for a good offense. Another part of that, I think, was just he played better. I do. Like, take a look at this play. It's going to be cover zero with man coverage. Cobb is running that route right there. Just a deep route. See if he can get open. And after the ball is snapped, first thing you're going to notice is just his speed. He runs up so quickly. He accelerates so quickly that immediately the defensive back who is covering him has to turn his back to make sure that he can keep up with Cobb. So, Cobb has that speed, which is definitely very key. So Prescott is going to give him a chance. He throws one deep. Cobb is able to outrun his assigned man and make a pretty impressive catch for the touchdown. And that's something that he was able to do in Dallas. And I think that's something he'll do a lot with the Texans. I think that that's actually something that could be really good with the Texans. And quite frankly, even though it seems like on paper it might be an overpay, I actually like the signing. So I know I got, a few minutes into my video to actually say what my take is on it, but I like this signing. I think that this makes sense. I think that Cobb is going to be very successful with Houston. We've seen how speedy receivers work with that Houston offense, and they work very well. Who else works very well is DeAndre Hopkins. I get it. But we have to separate these two moves, I think. The Hopkins move is inexcusable and cannot be explained in any way. Nobody understands it. The Cobb move I actually like. I think I would like it more if they just kept Hopkins or got fair value for Hopkins. But they didn't do that. These are two separate moves. I like the Cobb move because he can run routes like that. Really, I do think it's his route running. He is a veteran in this league, been in the NFL for 9 years. He knows how to run routes, and he can run routes very well. This play is going to be a cover 2 zone. Those are the two routes on the top half of the screen that the two Dallas players will be running, and that's Cobb's route. So, just looking at it on paper, the way it's supposed to work is that since there is a Dallas Cowboy who's going to be cutting underneath Cobb's route, this will keep the Minnesota player who is covering that zone further down, meaning that now all Cobb has to do is make sure that he gets in front of the safety who's deep, and there will be a window where Prescott can make this throw. But what I love about this is watch how Cobb runs this route. He's going to just go completely straight. He is not cutting just yet. A lot of guys are very tempted to cut over there earlier, try to get there quicker, and give their quarterback more time to make the decision. But you don't want to do that, because when you do that, it would signify to your opposing safety that you're running in that direction, and he can run over and try to take away that path. And so look at Cobb, and you look at how he's running straight up. At this point, there's no way for his Minnesota defender to know exactly where he's going. So that way, when he cuts up, he is able to get open, and he's able to make the catch. And that's, again, another thing that Cobb brings to the table. He's a very good route runner, along with being a very fast guy. And, I think he can play that possession receiver role very well. I do think that he can be a pretty solid wide receiver, too. Part of me wonders, does this mean that they're going to try to get Will Fuller to be that wide receiver one? Is that what they're going to try to do? But, he can't stay healthy, so I don't know. Maybe the goal is to draft one, but again, they don't have a first-round pick this year, so maybe draft one with their early second-round pick that they got from the D-Hop trade. That could work, but, maybe that's just the plan. Maybe they think they can get an elite one receiver with that second round pick? I don't know, but maybe that's the plan. There's also a play like this where it's going to be a cover 2 man, and the way it's going to work is that Cobb is going to run that route right there. Just a route to get to the outside, get towards the sideline. This is a cover 2 man, and after the ball is snapped, one thing that you will notice is that very quickly Cobb is going to get to the inside, and again, notice how rarely there's contact getting made, because what Cobb does is he's totally comfortable just running away from his assigned man. He doesn't need to create contact. He knows speed is his best weapon, so he'll avoid the contact if he can. So now at this point, because he avoided the contact, when he starts running deep, now his assigned man has no choice but to continue following him and try to make sure that he keeps pace with Cobb. So he has to now run as fast as he can to try to keep up with Cobb. And when you do that, you can't really do much else, I mean, just think about it from your perspective. If you're running as fast as you can in a straight line, and all of a sudden you had to then run to the right, it would be very difficult. Now, you're not a professional athlete, at least I don't think you are, maybe you are, but most of you are not going to be professional athletes, and so you probably couldn't pull that off, but also professional athletes can't pull that off. And watch how, because of Cobb's speed, you had to run to keep up, and when he cuts, he gets wide open, makes the catch, and then takes a pretty big hit, but is fine, so good to see there. That's just kind of what Cobb can do. That's one of the things he brings to the table, is the fact that his speed is just so deadly. You have to worry about it, and it can just open up, honestly, just about every route for him, and that's something that will be beneficial for the Houston Texans. Although I do have to bring up one thing. This is a negative. What's going to happen for Dallas is they have two receivers running deep. Cobb runs underneath. It actually looks like there was some sort of mistake that was made by Minnesota, because they only have two players who are going to stay in that area where there's 3 Dallas receivers. So, big mistake there. And as you see right when the ball is snapped, I mean, the other 2 Minnesota players stay deep to make sure they're covering up the 2 Cowboys running deep. But now Cobb right there is just wide open. So this is a great situation. This is a 3rd down and 6. So, being able to convert here, get the ball in field goal range, maybe even get a touchdown, not on this play, but in the near future, this would be a very big play, but Cobb is just going to flat out drop this ball, and this isn't one play in isolation that I picked out. This is something he seemingly would do like every game, is he would play very well, but just have one costly drop, and you just can't have that if you are a team. That's going to separate the goods from the greats, quite frankly, is being able to not make those little mistakes. Cobb makes those little mistakes, so that is a definite negative. But at the end of the day, I like this move because I think they're buying low on Randall Cobb. Yes, people are saying it's an overpay, but literally pretty much every move you make in free agency is an overpay. I do not hate this move whatsoever. I've been saying it a lot, and I have because it's true, that either you're going to overpay in free agency or you're going to give up assets through the draft. And quite frankly, Houston doesn't have many assets to give up, even though they just traded DeAndre Hopkins. Again, no matter what the Texans do this offseason, it's going to be a bad offseason. They traded DeAndre Hopkins for a 2nd-round pick. Like, I get why, pretty much every move that the Texans have made, people have been saying, well, yeah, but I still don't understand why they gave up DeAndre Hopkins just to get a 2nd-round pick. And nobody does. None of us understand why they did that. Really. I mean, so if you view everything through the lens of, well, does this make the Hopkins trade make sense now? It's always going to be no. But if you just view it of, is this a good signing? Can you see Randall Cobb outperforming his contract for the Texans? I think I can. I think I can see this happening. I like this signing. Again, disastrous free agency for Houston, but at the same time, again, maybe this is going to be a controversial opinion. I don't think the Texans are dead. I think they could be looking a lot better than they are. I think that one thing that I heard that's actually pretty crazy is that even though the Texans, once Bill O'Brien got there, even though they've had more division titles than everybody else in their division, they've also been the only team in their division to not make it to the AFC Championship game, despite the fact that they keep winning the division. So they've kind of been stuck in that good, not great mold. I think they're kind of there again, where they're good, not great. But who knows? I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I do think that they are good. I think that they have a good shot to win the division. We'll have to see how the rest of the offseason breaks down. I don't think they're dead. And I like this move. I think this move will help them a lot. It was necessary once you get rid of Hopkins to get another receiver. I think they'll probably draft a receiver with, one thing I do have to bring up is that not all second-round picks are the same. Not all first-round picks are the same. A lot of people were saying stuff like San Francisco wouldn't give you a first-round pick, really. But, if San Francisco gave them a first-round pick, it would have only been 10 spots higher than the Cardinals giving them a first-round pick. It's not that big. I mean, that's something. Quite frankly, I think they should have been getting multiple first-round picks for Hopkins. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, yes, it's a second-round pick, but it's a very high second-round pick. It has value. I don't think the Texans are dead. Somehow this video turned into a Hopkins and Cobb video, but, I think everywhere you look and you hear people talking about Cobb, they're also talking about Hopkins. These things are kind of one and the same. But yeah, I like the Randall Cobb signing. I think it makes sense. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.